Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sober City. My name is Seth, and I am still an alcoholic. Pretty excited for you to meet my wonderful friend, Alicen. She was able to get honest about her drinking habits. She saw that it was playing a negative role in her life. She talks about mom wine culture and incorporating wine and alcohol in every social gathering. Obviously, being a mother is the toughest job in the world. There's definitely instances where alcohol is well deserved. But what makes Alicen special is she was able to evaluate her relationship with alcohol, determine that it was not something that she wanted any longer, and has managed to put together a little over 2 years of sobriety. What I really appreciate about Alicen is she changes what alcohol dependency or alcohol abuse may look like. She's a fellow soft bottomer like I am, and we talk about that in the episode. Alicen has not had to go to treatment. It's not been in handcuffs. We have this kind of false understanding that alcoholism or alcohol abuse disorder may be somebody with a brown paper bag under a bridge, jobless, when in reality it's a lot more like you and I, or at least Alicen and I. And hopefully it might resonate with people who maybe internally understand that, hey, this is an issue, but because it doesn't look like what I think it's supposed to look like, then maybe it's not an issue. Alcohol causes us to negotiate with ourselves, makes us question what we think to be true and untrue. At least that was the case for me. I thought maybe I didn't have an issue, but deep down I knew I did. And once I got sober, I really knew I did. So the more we consume it, the crazier it makes us, and the more we become dependent upon it. And as you can hear with Alicen, it's not easy initially, but over time, it's really rewarding. Sobriety's an awesome gift. Alicen mentions some podcasts that she enjoyed, along with a Facebook group that she joined that was specific to wine mom culture. And I will be posting links to those in the show notes. And hopefully they can be of resource to you and help you as they had helped Alicen. Grateful for Alicen. She's awesome. I'm excited for you to meet her if you don't know her. And if you do know her, consider yourself lucky. She's got a wonderful personality. She's honest, sincere, personable, and I'm pretty excited that she was willing to do this with me. I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. As always, I sure thank you all for listening and sharing. And if you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol or addiction of any kind, my number is in the show notes, along with my email. It's really a pleasure to potentially be in a position to help somebody else because somebody else helped me. So it's my responsibility to do the same. So I sure appreciate any opportunity to be able to do that. So yeah, let's get to it. Life is beautiful. Sobriety is worth it. Thank God for today. This is Sober City. Alicen, thank you so much for hanging out today. Welcome to Sober City.
Thank you for having me. I've almost bailed a handful of times, but
I'm glad you decided not to.
Yes, me too. Or so I think.
How long have you been sober?
824 days.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of days.
That is a lot of days, which is exciting. I remember, I have to remind myself of how excited I was to hit double digits and then triple digits. And now I'm almost to quadruple digits, which is exciting.
That is exciting. Time moves a little bit quicker once you get past like that 90 days.
Yes, it does.
That beginning period takes forever. So what'd you say, how many days?
824.
So that's a little over 2 years.
January 5th was my day one.
January
2023.
January 5th, 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Same
a
to
long
you.
time. What were you like before you got sober?
I was thinking about that this morning on my walk. I thought, like, right now I focus so much on the recent past, but I dug back a little further and thought about my first couple times drinking, which were issues. First time I ever drank, it was a night I was staying at a friend of mine's, and we were going to be going to this party, and I thought, okay, this is my first time I'm going to drink. And we tried finding this party in the hills and didn't have any luck, and I told my boyfriend at the time who was driving us, I was like, dang it, this was going to be my first time getting drunk. And I was a freshman in high school, by the way. And he said, well, I think I have some beer in my trunk. So we pulled over and he looked in his trunk and he had a 40 of Bud Ice, warm, mind you. And so I drank it, the whole thing, which at the time was a lot of alcohol for someone who's never had alcohol before. And we headed back into town, went over to another friend of mine, to her house, her dad's house, and went inside, ran into her parents, who happened to be the head football coach of our high school. And he immediately recognized that I was intoxicated and, of course, called my parents. And this was before cell phones, so I figured I was in the clear until we got back to my friends where I was staying and pulled up, and my friend's headlights shined on the back of my parents' vehicle, and they were there to pick me up. And I was in trouble with them, of course, but not only that, the football coach, my friend's dad, then told the athletic director at our high school, and I was then suspended from the basketball team for 2 weeks. So had to inform my team that I wouldn't be playing and why, and that was embarrassing. Talk about a crappy first experience, but that did not stop me, apparently. I had a few more kind of big drinking events in high school for sure.
What was that initial feeling like when you drank for the first time?
Yeah. No worries. It's all fun. It's all fun and games until it's not, right?
Yeah.
Then another big one that I remember, I always had a curfew and I was always on time for my curfew. And one night I went with a group of friends to a party and was drinking Christian Brothers brandy. And honestly, that's the last thing I remember. Drinking Christian Brothers. The rest of the night is blackout until about 5 o'clock in the morning. And my boyfriend at the time, his dad comes into my boyfriend's room hollering and screaming, saying, you know, what the hell's going on? Allison's mom's been calling all morning, and blah, blah, blah. So I come downstairs. This is back in the day of the little caller ID box on the table. And I look, and sure enough, my mom had been calling all morning. So I call her, and obviously I'm 4 or 5 hours late for my curfew at this point. And I said, sorry, I fell asleep watching a movie. And she said, bullshit, get outside. Your dad's in the car waiting for you. And longest walk of shame ever. Got in the car with my dad, and he said, told me I smelled like a brewery. And I said, I didn't drink last night. And he said, really? What's all over your sweater? And I looked down and I had throw up all over my sweater. And I'm like, oh, God. It was quiet ride home, get home. And I remember thinking, I'm going to get my butt chewed. And my parents told me to go to my room. And then they both came and each of them sat next to me on my bed and just hugged me. They were petrified for that 4 or 5 hours that they didn't know where I was. And as a mom now, we've had that conversation, you know, like, okay, I get it. I get now what I did to you. And man, it is the worst, not knowing where your kid is. And anyway, yeah, I was grounded for 30 days and that was the end of the world, of course, in high school. And you'd think that would have done it, but no, you just keep going, keep partying. I would also like to say my upbringing, you know, people always think, well, you must have a thing, something in your past or rough upbringing or whatever. I don't. I did not. I have phenomenal parents who are super supportive. I have one brother. He and I are both very close, and we've, of course, had our share of family things like every family does, but I had a great childhood and nothing to blame a drinking problem on, I guess you could say. Anyway, then I graduated high school and decided on a whim to join the National Guard. Of course, I think we all know there's a drinking stigma. There's a drinking problem amongst the military, and I don't think the National Guard is exempt from that by any means. We would do our one weekend a month and definitely tied one on most of the time during those weekends.
That's what
off duty, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I did 20 years. I retired in September of 2020 with 20 years in, and I loved it for the most part. I did 3 years active shortly after I first joined, and then the rest of it was I was what they call a traditional soldier, the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and yeah, really enjoyed it for the most part. Then in 2006, I think, quit my full-time guard job, opened an in-home daycare, thinking that was the best idea ever so I could stay home plus make money. Lasted 3 weeks before I gave a 5-week notice. And then at that point, I got into real estate. And I've been in real estate since 2007, which is another profession, I would say, that is pretty known for its drinking abilities. Maybe that's not nice to say because there's a lot of people that don't, but
no, absolutely.
There are a lot of people that do.
In real estate, you have a bad day, you drink. You have a good day, you drink.
Right.
Celebrate a closing. You mourn the death of a deal.
Yes.
Yeah, you always have an excuse to drink in real estate.
It's like, oh, I don't have any showings this afternoon, and neither do my buddies, and it's really nice. Let's find an outdoor patio somewhere and drink some margaritas. Unfortunately, I just never learned to drink a couple margaritas and call it a day. If I started, it was game on for the rest of the day.
You own your own brokerage?
Yes. So I worked at a few different companies, and then my husband also joined me in 2010. So together we worked at a few different companies and then decided to open our own in 2017. So 8 years ago. This fall will be 8 years ago.
You guys have DuPont Real Estate together?
Yeah.
You got sober at what, 42?
40.
We were 40. So one thing I'm always curious about is that, that's a little later. I mean, never too late, never too early. But what was it at 40 where you made the decision that you don't want alcohol to be a part of your life anymore?
Yes, that is late. And that is my only regret is that I didn't quit sooner. I dive into all these sobriety podcasts, and I'm envious when I hear of you've had a couple on yours that are in their 20s and get sober, and I'm like, man, I wish that was me. But we can't go back and change time, unfortunately. But I just think in the beginning of my sobriety, I struggled a lot with just regrets and feeling bad for not being as present as I could have been as a wife, as a mom, daughter, sister. I was a very present friend. I will say that because that's who I surrounded myself with, my friends and my wine. And anyway, I tried to now just focus on the now and the future and think if I'm lucky enough to live a good long life, then eventually my drinking motherhood and wifehood will be a smaller part of my life, if that makes sense. So I would say, okay, back in probably 2008 was my first experience with wine. And that's kind of where it, I would say, really went downhill for years. I feel like the mommy wine culture thing kind of took hold, and it's like Oh, I'm classy now because I'm drinking wine. So I'll get together, drink with my mom friends, and it's okay because it's wine. They drink it in church and whatever. It's no big deal. It's classier than drinking beer or liquor, right? Or so I thought, until you're drinking out of a black box and tearing the box apart to get that last glass of wine out of the bag.
Right. Yeah.
But then it's suddenly not so classy anymore. I guess I would say I struggled for years, a lot of years, as far as just my own internal conversations with myself. And honestly, probably daily conversations. The 3 a.m. wake up, feeling like crap, not remembering going to bed the night before. And unfortunately, it wasn't because there was an event I was at. Sometimes it was just sitting at home. It got to the point where it was like I didn't have to be doing something to be drinking. I could, if I was reading a book, I had a glass of wine. Watching a show, I had a glass of wine. Sitting on the deck, I had a glass of wine, or just all the time. It was like, what's my schedule today and when do I pour my first glass? It wasn't ever just one glass. And it also was not a small glass.
Right.
When you go to a restaurant and you order the 5 ounces, it's like, oh, that's cute. Where's the rest of my glass?
Right. Don't be shy.
Anyway, so it was just like a daily internal struggle of wake up, feel like crap, tell myself, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this again. So today I'm not going to drink. And then by noon, I'm feeling better. By 2, 3, 4 o'clock, whenever I am done for the day, then game back on. And it was just a vicious cycle. I used to be my social calendar was very full. If there was a girls' night, I was definitely in attendance. If there was a social event that included alcohol, I was definitely in attendance. I remember being like appalled by any social event that did not include alcohol.
Yeah, what a disappointment.
Yeah. Did you do that or just me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what? They're not serving booze?
No, I know.
This is lame.
Yeah. You no longer interested in being a part of that party.
Yeah.
Which is funny because now it's totally different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sad how so much of our life experiences revolved around alcohol.
I do remember in the beginning, well, I guess I'll back up to what made me finally quit. So for years, I battled with really my own conversations with myself. I don't think I hardly ever talked to anyone about it. Actually, I would talk to my family sometimes and say, I think I'm going to quit drinking. And they'd be like, okay, yeah, we've heard that before, And I would. In fact, one time, I think this was in 2017 maybe, I did Whole30. Do you know what Whole30 is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the diet where, you eat good and you don't drink and whatever for 30 days. So I was all in for the 30 days and then I was done. So day one of being done, I, of course, host a girls' night at my house, have a bunch of ladies over, all the wine. And of course, I'm balls to the wall and my tolerance had obviously gone way down. And I think it was probably 6:30 or 7 o'clock before I was passed out and in bed. And everyone stayed at my house and continued to hang out, but without me. My husband came home and, from what I'm told, came home and said, where is my wife? And they're like, oh, she went to bed.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of those little hiatuses where you take a 30-day break and then call it good, thinking, okay, if I take 30 days off, then I can start again and moderate. But that was never the case. And in fact, probably the opposite. And I think after the hiatus, then it was just probably got worse every time.
I think when you take a 30-day break and then you can drink again, it'd be really tough not to overdo it.
Yeah.
That feeling of, I deserve this.
Yep.
Is pretty overwhelming.
So, I would start following different sobriety pages on Instagram and most recently TikTok, whatever, and read some Quit Lit. I just was sober curious, I guess, for years, knowing that I should quit, but didn't, and always felt like I had to have an excuse, like a reason to quit, because I couldn't just say I have a problem and need to quit. So finally, 2022, I actually found myself in the ER a couple different occasions. Essentially, it was like GI problems, which I know was directly related to my drinking. Of course, I didn't tell any doctors that when I was there, so they're trying to figure out what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking before I went in, I'm like, okay, this is it. I've got cirrhosis of the liver, or I have cancer. And I actually hoped that I did. And I thought, man, that is really messed up. Like, you're gonna, because I also thought as time went on, I'm like, I should either go to AA or go to rehab. And unfortunately, in my mind, it was like, well, I can't do that, because that's really having to admit that you have a problem. And that's embarrassing, which is such a stupid thought, because to me, and anyone that I ever knew that had gone to AA or had gone to rehab, the only thing I ever thought was good for them. And that's awesome. But when it's you, you feel differently anyway. So I remember thinking just how ridiculous that was, to say it out loud to myself, like, you would rather get diagnosed with cancer or cirrhosis of the liver to be told that you can never drink again and make that your point where that makes you finally stop. So kind of put it into perspective. And towards the end of 2022, I thought, I have got to make a change. I really want to quit. And my niece, who was 18 at the time, was new in the National Guard. And right out of training, essentially, she got notified that her unit was deploying. And so I thought, this is a great opportunity to use that as an excuse or a motivation. I can use her. I remember actually back when I went to basic training, my dad did this Body for Life challenge when I was at basic training. And I always was inspired by that. And I thought, I'm going to use my niece, my 18-year-old niece, who's going to go overseas and fight for her country, as my motivation or my excuse, because we need an excuse, right? To quit.
We do. Yeah, we need to romanticize it. It can't just be a Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. And you have to have an answer for when people ask you, because you can't just go to dinner and not order a glass of wine, because everyone's asking why you're not drinking. So I need to have an answer, and the answer can't be, I have a problem. So
no, of course not.
It was December 18th, 2022, and I didn't say anything to my family. I texted my niece, who was in Texas preparing for deployment, and I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing like a challenge while you're out of the country. And she said, sounds great. Do you want to join my friend and I? We're going to do this booty challenge while I'm gone and get fit. And I'm like, well, I was thinking along the lines of quitting drinking. And her response was, that seems a little extreme. And I didn't say quitting drinking, actually. I said, I'm thinking more along the lines of not drinking while you're out of the country. And she said, that seems a little extreme. And I said, so does going out of the country and serving our military when you're 18 years old? And she couldn't argue that one. And so I set the plan in motion, since I put it out there to someone, and she was leaving the country. Well, of course, it's top secret on when they're leaving and whatnot. So we'd come up with a code word that she could text me on when she was actually leaving. But she gave me a general idea. It was going to be about 2 weeks. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going crazy these next couple weeks. And I did just that. And she let me know that she was going to be leaving on January 5th. And so January 4th, I stayed up until midnight drinking wine, literally until the last minute of the day. And then that was it. At some point, I told my kids and my husband — I have 3 kids, by the way. They're now 23, 19, and 16. I had told them what my plan was, and they all were, of course, supportive and, okay, sounds good. They've heard this, I don't know, 1,952 times that mom's going to quit drinking. And so, of course, it was a ways into it, probably 6 months or so into it. And her deployment was set to be a 9-month deployment, by the way. So when I had made it quite a ways, I had a conversation with the kids and my husband, and all of which agreed. They thought I would make it a while, but didn't think I would make it the 9 months, let alone make it a forever decision. My ultimate thought was, once I get to 9 months of sobriety, my hope is that I feel so good that I never want to drink again. But I didn't make that my declaration in the beginning, that I'm never going to drink again. I just said, while she's overseas. And sure enough, 9 months into it, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I think it was about the 6-month mark for me where I was like, there's no turning back. In fact, one other last catalyst that I remember, my oldest daughter, she went to USD for college, and she came home for Christmas break right at that time that I had decided, okay, I'm going to quit drinking. And she's a college kid. She must have been a second-year college kid at that point. And she came home for college break, and I remember she went out one time with some of her college friends and drank in the 3 weeks that she was home. And I drank every single night that she was home. And I remember talking to her about that after the fact. That was a big eye-opener for me. Like, what's wrong with this picture? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I kind of was a hermit, I would say, in the beginning of it, just like super self-focused, I guess, is the only way to put it. I quit in January, but you know how our winters are. We have some nice days. So I spent a lot of time walking outside, and I actually looked forward to my walks because I would listen to sobriety podcasts every time I'd go for a walk. And so looked forward to them. And it was probably a week in to quitting drinking, and I found this Sober Mom Life podcast and listened, and they mentioned a Facebook page. And so I checked it out and joined it. And at the time, it was just over 5,000 women that were in this Facebook group. And I loved it. It was a lot of just relatable women. And I'm still on that page. It's now, I haven't looked, I guess, recently. Last I looked, it was over 80,000 women from all over the world. And it's moms, it's people like myself that I could relate to. It's moms, business owners, wives. Unfortunately, I think there's such a stigma as far as alcoholism goes, and that is like the drunk under the bridge that doesn't have a job or a family or anything, but that's not the case. I remember being on the page and someone would post something and I'm like, oh man, that's super relatable. So then of course I'd go to their profile and stalk their page and I'm like, look at them. They have their shit together. Like they aren't what you envision when you think about someone that struggles with alcohol, which was eye-opening to me because I just thought, well, anyone that goes to AA is probably not someone I would relate to, which clearly is, not the case. And I've realized that, of course, since then. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of people that struggle with it that you wouldn't otherwise think would be the case.
I think we need to make alcoholism or alcohol abuse more personable. I think everybody can relate to it somehow, whether you struggle with it or know someone that does. It is that relatability that's really important in the beginning. When you feel like you're no longer alone, that you can relate to somebody that looks like you. speaking about like this mom wine culture, which I've seen on TikTok or I've listened to other podcasts mention it, with mom wine culture, being a mom and having that relationship with alcohol, which is something that hinders your ability to play that role. What does that look like to you? And what would you say to somebody if they're being honest with themselves, realizing that this isn't healthy?
I'm sure you've seen this. You know how the algorithms are on social media. And so it would always pop up on my page jokes about mommy and wine and the kid that draws a picture of his mom at school. And of course, she has a glass of wine in her hand. And you laugh and everyone thinks it's funny unless you're that person that doesn't really think it's funny. I know me personally, for years, I shared the memes. I laughed at the memes, but in reality, I hated them. I hated them. And I thought, oh, that's sad. And I thought, oh, that's me. And I hate that. I hate that for my kids, when they see wine, or let's be honest, smell wine, even more gross, they think of me. That's what makes them think of mom, and it's like, is that what you really want to be your memory, and not even just from my kids, anyone, it used to be if it was my birthday or Christmas or whatever, people were gifting me wine. I left a guard job once and they gave me 2 bottles of wine, which was very nice. But I remember thinking, man, this sucks. I wish they thought of something else when they thought of me. And the amount of people that used to tag me in wine things or share things about wine on my page, it's like, ugh. I would say my biggest regret is just not being more present.
When you say not being present in regards to either being under the influence or hungover?
Yeah, hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah, not being more present. I actually this morning got a text from a family member looking for advice on a Mother's Day gift for his wife. And it made me think about years ago. It was like a few years in a row. Some mom friends and I our Mother's Day, like our plan for Mother's Day was, let's get together, drink all the wine, and make the husbands do all the things for the kids. And I'm like, man, that is a really crappy memory, because I'll be honest, I was a blacker outer. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you the amount of times I've blacked out. And it wouldn't even have to be a crazy night. It's just like some nights the wine hits you a little different and I don't remember going to bed. And so, of course, there's ends of a Mother's Day that I don't remember. And that's a crappy feeling. I feel like it's a lot of catch up with my kids. I've had good conversations with them and apologies, and they're amazing. They, of course, have said, you've been a good mom, and there's nothing crazy that stands out as far as my husband and we're not fighters. There wasn't really fighting or any of that, but they've said it's not like you were mean when you drank, but you're a lot happier now. I'm just a lot more easygoing. I'm less quick to anger. Yeah, you're more present and you're not on edge. Even if you're not crazy hungover, you're still a night after drinking or a day after a night of drinking. You're not your best self. You're not 100%. And yeah. I don't know.
So there was never a point. You have 3 daughters?
2 daughters and a son.
2 daughters and a son.
Yep, my youngest is a boy.
So there was never a point where any of your children or your husband approached you and said, hey, your drinking is concerning?
No, not directly. No, we've actually had that conversation too. I've had that conversation with my direct family, my immediate family, my husband and my kids, and then, of course, my parents as well. And I feel like it's like anything, until you decide it's time for you to quit. Had they come to me, there were comments made like, oh, you're going to have another glass of wine, And I'd be like, yeah, I am. I'm grown up. I can do what I want. If it's like when you're overweight, if someone comes to you and says, hey, you're overweight, you're like, yeah, I know. And until I want to do something about it, I'm going to stay overweight. And there were times I'm like, man, I wish someone would have said something. But in reality, I don't think it would have. It probably just would have made me secretive because I didn't ever hide it. But I think I probably would have. I shouldn't say I didn't hide it. I did think about this because there was never a time I hid anything anywhere, but I hid in the way of like, okay, I'm going out for girls' night, but beforehand, I'm going to pregame at my house while I'm getting ready, and then I'm going to go to dinner, but they won't know I pregamed. And then when I come home from dinner, I'm going to continue drinking, but my husband doesn't know I pregamed and how many glasses of wine I had at dinner, you know?
Absolutely.
So I didn't hide it per se, like in my closet.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, not in the literal sense, but you definitely were slightly deceptive.
Yeah.
You were trying to maintain an image, and you knew that if they had an idea of how much I'm actually drinking, it would be a problem.
And then I might have to face it.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so let's talk more about sobriety. I was a hermit for the first couple months. Actually, week 3, I already had a trip booked to Nashville to celebrate a friend's birthday. So there was, I don't know, a dozen of us, I think, that went to Nashville. Nashville is nothing but bar hopping, bars and music. And it was, the people I went with were phenomenal. That specific group of friends is probably, they don't struggle with alcohol like I did. I mean, they would have drinks and have a good time and whatnot, but it was terrible. I was like, this is the worst idea. And I'm pretty sure most people thought I would fail at that point, but I didn't. And month 3, in April, I went on an all-inclusive to Mexico for my middle kiddos' senior trip. And I was very nervous about that because, you know, Lord knows I'd been on all-inclusives before. And my husband and I used to joke that they lost money on us coming on an all-inclusive.
Yeah, go through an all-inclusive and
yeah.
I think otherwise you feel like you're not getting your money's worth.
Exactly.
That's tough.
Yes. And thankfully they had Heineken Zero on tap, and I just drank the crap out of Heineken Zero, and it was the best vacation I've ever had because you know how it is, I'm sure, to go on vacation and you drink all the things and whoop it up, and then you come home and you need a vacation from the vacation. And it was the first time I legitimately felt refreshed, after a trip. And then that fall, which, let's see, my niece came home in September. And so I did have a few friends that were like, all right, you can drink again. I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. I feel too good to go back. No thanks. Oh, I will say too, so that Facebook page, I am still part of the page, and I do love continuing to follow it sometimes because there are constant reminders on there. Someone will post on there and say, I was 3 years sober and decided, okay, I've got to be able to moderate now. And so I started drinking again, and then here they are 6 months in, right back to where they were years before. And so it's a constant reminder of where I don't want to be and what I don't want to go back to. You know, getting to day 3 was big. It was like there would be a day 1. If I was too hungover or whatever, I would go a day without drinking. 2 days was really rare. 3 days was unheard of. Like I never went 3 days without drinking. And so I have to just remind myself like how big it was to get to day 3 and then day 7 and then the double digits and so on. Anyway, so yeah, my niece came back and I'm like, not doing it. I feel too good. I lost about 40 pounds, I would say unintentionally, just by quitting drinking. That is one piece of advice I would have for any specifically woman that's quitting drinking, because as a whole, I think women, we're always battling the I need to lose this or that or whatever. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us. And so the first thing you think is, well, if I quit drinking, I should lose a bunch of weight. immediately. And I told myself in the beginning, I'm like, my only goal right now is to quit drinking. It can't be to lose weight or whatever, because I know if I weigh myself and I've gained 3 pounds, then I'm going to be like, screw it, I might as well drink, you know? And so I didn't. I said, I'm not weighing myself for 4 months. I didn't say I'm not going to weigh myself for 4 months, but that's about what it was before I did weigh myself. Anyway, but just by happenstance, by quitting drinking the bazillion calories of wine I drank every night and feeling good, I naturally wanted to exercise more, all the while eating all the ice cream. That is now my goal. Every week. I just joked with my husband. I said, okay, we need to do ice cream Sundays, which is Sundays is when we have ice cream, but it hasn't panned out yet. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to beat myself up too much over this. Then in October of that year, I found pickleball, which has been, between ice cream and pickleball, I have new addictions to focus on for, I think, the rest of my life. So
I think you can allow yourself those 2 addictions.
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Ice cream was a big one for me for a while until I got my cholesterol checked.
Oh, shoot. So maybe I should do that.
Yeah, you might want to do that. I had to nix the ice cream, but but no, I really appreciate that idea of not setting expectations when you get sober.
Yeah.
Whether it be I'm going to lose a lot of weight or my wife's going to be nicer to me.
Yeah.
Like, you are getting sober to be sober. And the only expectation should be that I feel better sober.
Yeah.
If I don't drink, I'll be sober. That's what you can expect. And guaranteed life is better sober.
Mm-hmm.
The temptation to drink might show up once in a while, but remembering that you're borrowing feeling good tomorrow to feel good now.
Right. Yeah. And if anyone is out there listening and quitting or newly thinking of quitting or whatever, it's like, I just want to say it does get better. The first little bit is hard. I don't know about you, but I struggled to sleep for the first few weeks. I actually came home, I remember, and took a nap a couple different times, which I am not a napper. I could have been insanely hungover, got hardly any sleep, and I wouldn't even nap then. And then in sobriety here, I'm finding myself napping. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But it's like we have to remind ourselves that we've spent how many years destroying our body. It's not going to heal itself overnight.
Yeah, your brain needs to kind of learn new pathways.
Yeah, learning
that's exhausting. How far into sobriety were you when you went to an all-inclusive resort?
3 months.
Oh, 3 months, yeah. Good for you. So Nashville in less than 30 days and didn't drink.
Mm-hmm.
And then even in 90 days to go to an all-inclusive, I messed up a few times at all-inclusive resorts. I ruined a couple of vacations at all-inclusive resorts. Yeah. They are a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice and fun, but man, bad place to be if you have a alcohol dependency.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that first summer, actually, we opened a bar, which I had agreed to prior to sobriety, opened a bar down at the lake place that we have at Angostura. And I'm like, what is happening? Here I am getting sober and we're running a bar. And it was us running it that first summer. And thank God for the non-alcoholic industry and how far it has come, because they were new to me. I'm pretty sure they were new that year, in 2023, the Corona NAs. And I drank so many Corona NAs that summer. I don't really drink NAs much at home, but if we go out for dinner, sometimes I'll get an NA because I enjoy the taste of them. And I don't know, there's something about sometimes feeling like you're splurging, like that feels like a little splurge. And I know some people they're triggering for and not good, and teach their own. But NAs, I know my brother got married before I had hit a year. He got married that November before. And it was at Hay Camp and they had Bush NA was their only NA. And it was my first wedding sober. And I was at the bar buying Bush NAs left and right. And I'm sure the bartender's like, lady, what are you doing? I'm like, whatever I got to do to get through it, And I felt great the next day. I mean, you can drink a lot of NAs and still feel great the next day. Still empty calories, I suppose. So I probably should not, but that's
Give yourself some grace.
yeah.
That's whatever you got to do to stay sober. I was talking to somebody the other day and she was frustrated because her significant other is pounding NAs. And I was like, man, that's better than him being drunk.
Yes.
Because she was like, he just does one after the other.
That's okay.
And I was like, let him have him for now. And I think, like you said too, I think earlier on that over time, you just phased out. You just learn, I don't need to pound these or whatever it was. Yeah. And same with me with ice cream. Initially, all I had was ice cream. I was like, this is my one
ice cream
treat.
Diet.
Yeah. I went in the afternoon, and if I was driving by Dairy Queen, it's like I deserve this.
Game on. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Just ice cream all the time. But still, better than alcohol. And I think early on, it's okay to have something. But eventually, you just learn to balance, keep things in check.
Yeah.
When something has an authority over you, you recognize it now because you knew what it was like when alcohol had an authority over you. Those things were easier to let go of because I let go of alcohol. When you were talking about Nashville, how did you navigate that? You really didn't have any coping mechanisms or tools yet. You were pretty early, and that is a big party city.
Yeah. So sadly, and maybe it's changed in the last couple of years, but they had no NA options. And when you're used to having a drink in your hand, you want to have a drink in your hand, whatever it is when you're first getting sober. So we're going to all these bars. No one has NAs. And so my go-to was ginger beer. They'd give me a ginger beer. I had one bar charge me like $3 for a ginger beer. The rest of them gave them to me for free. I was like, you jerk. Just give it to me for free. I went back to the hotel, I think, before everyone, 2 of the 3 nights. Because it's 9:30, I'm ready for bed, and everyone's getting drunk. And I'm not just talking about the people that were in my group. I just mean everyone around you. It's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Yeah, it's interesting navigating all the things for the first time. Your first trip, your first wedding, your first summer, your first funeral, your first concert. Yeah, that was a weird one for me. I'm like, wait, I'm going to go to a concert and I'm going to remember the whole thing, and I'm even going to drive home.
What was your first concert sober?
Dixie Chicks.
Okay.
In Sioux Falls. It was
the Chicks, you mean?
Girls trip, the Chicks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was the best time, and I felt like $1 million the next day.
Isn't that incredible when you can experience things without needing alcohol?
Yeah.
And man, go to those concerts and they're $10.
Yeah. I'm like, not only am I feeling great, but man, I saved a lot of money,
Save a lot of money.
Yeah. Plus I don't have to pay for a Lyft ride. And I had just as much fun more fun, I would say, because I remember it,
And aren't you kind of proud of yourself, though, when you experience it and you're like, man, I didn't have to have
like, I am a badass. I can conquer the world.
When you do
except for my ice cream addiction.
Yeah, that's okay. We've established that's okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Unless you have high cholesterol like me.
I am going to be going to check my cholesterol.
Wait a little bit, though, because once you find out.
Let me indulge a couple more times, and then I'll check.
Right. But it is the first Super Bowl, first St. Patty's Day, first Christmas, first wedding, first Thanksgiving. What you find, it's intimidating at first. Then you go through them and navigate them, and you come out the other side sober, and you realize that was actually far more enjoyable without having to have this thing that makes me irritable.
Hate myself the next day.
I hate myself. Make me have to apologize to my wife for something the next day.
Yes. I used to be a blogger, or so I thought. When I would drink, then I'd post something on Facebook, and the next day I'm like, oh gosh, why did I do that? Don't do that. Or I'd see on my phone, I talked to someone for a half hour, and I don't even remember what we talked about. But now I have to pretend I remember what we talked about, you know?
Yeah, the drunk Facebooking.
Yes. I've actually deleted a few posts as they've come up on memories because I remember like, oh, that is triggering for me. I don't even remember posting that. I remember being like, what in the world were you thinking the next day? So I'm just going to never have that on my memories again because I don't want that, you know?
Right. Or you wake up the next day and you see you have 20 notifications.
Yeah.
And it's all this person replied to your comment.
You're like, well, what did it?
I can't. I just delete it. I don't even want to know.
Someone take my phone away from me.
At the time, though, it was brilliant. I'm sure it was a really great
and that's the thing too. It's like, someone take my phone away from me instead of, no, someone take the wine away from me. Take the wine, not the phone.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take away the thing that makes me look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But last week, when I was talking to Caleb, we talked a little bit about soft bottoms. You ever heard that term?
No.
So you have your rock bottom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then you have your soft bottom. And you and I would be considered soft bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people who have experienced rock bottom, like a DUI or prison or divorce, can garner a certain resentment towards people like us because you didn't experience an intervention. I mean, my wife kicked me out. That was probably a catalyst for me getting sober. But still, I didn't lose my business. I still had a car. I had gas in my car. I had money in my account. And I think what's hard sometimes, like you were saying in the beginning, was you're waiting for a diagnosis, cancer diagnosis. That's what's going to make me quit.
And isn't that terrible?
It makes sense to me because it had to be something. I think I even mentioned last week as well, the not yets. Well, I haven't gotten a DUI yet. I haven't pushed my wife to the point of divorcing me yet. Those happen. And when they happen, they're worse than you can imagine. So I think when you're evaluating your relationship with alcohol, you knew you had a problem.
Yeah. I was lucky that I hadn't gotten a DUI and knew my luck at some point could run out. And best case scenario was a DUI. Worst case, I kill myself or someone else, you know? Yeah.
Right. But even still, you're a soft bottom or whatever. But even now, you're that guilt, shame, and remorse you feel for the years you could have had, the experiences you could have had with your children that were robbed by alcohol. So it's like people don't realize what it's like until you get rid of it. And once you get rid of it, you're always like, I wish I would have done this sooner.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you can't, it's almost like you can't, it's easy to admit I had a problem once you're done with the problem. Just like losing weight. It's easy to say, gosh, look how bad I looked then. And, you know, but no one's going to talk about it during that time. You know, I wish I could go back and redo raising my kids when they were young all over again. I really do. I would do a lot of things drastically different. But as my kids get older now, I'm thinking of being a grandma. Both Nick and I are like stoked about this next phase of life. And we hope we're lucky enough to be grandparents. And I remember thinking, I need to get my crap together because what if my kids don't want my grandkids to spend the night at my house because grandma blocks out? And so this will be my, assuming one of my kids at least has kids, which I think they will. I hope they will. Then that can be a do-over, like, you know, I guess, because can't go back, but can change the future, of course.
You use it as a propellant.
Yeah.
Stay away from the self-pity and just recognize that, hey, I did it. I'm living it. And here's my opportunity to do the best I can moving forward. That's with me because I could spend a day feeling sorry for myself and regretting and wishing I could have done it sooner. And this is what I should have done differently. But that doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah, and it's huge to find your people. I know I've talked to some friends who don't have the support in their corner, and I'm like, you're going to have to set up some boundaries and find that support because, thanks to my husband, my kids, my parents, and my brother, all my family, they're amazing and supportive. And had they not been, it could have looked a lot differently. So find your people.
Yeah, community.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get sober alone. Sometimes you don't have that privilege of your family because you've exhausted their patience.
Right.
But there's always somebody. And I mean, that's kind of why I want to do this podcast, because when I got kicked out, I think everybody was done with me. I was like, who do I call? I got to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
It's important to reach out because there's somebody out there that's been through it. And I remember when you posted about you got sober January 2023. And I think I got sober August 2023. And it's funny because, I was 4 months in when I saw you post your thing. And I was like, oh, you don't have to announce it to everybody. Because I don't know why I was insecure. And I was like, oh, I'm sober. I don't need to. But it's like.
Well, and on that note, I do want to talk about that too, because it is like a weird feeling when you get to that point. And I remember I was in Vermilion. Nick and I were going somewhere and we were flying out of Sioux Falls. So we went and had dinner with my oldest, Haley, and her friend. And I had just had my 1 year and I'm like, I'm having this debate with them. I'm like, do I announce it to the world or do I not? And they were like adamant that, they're like, yes, do. Because if you can make a difference, if you can reach one person, then it's worth it. I mean, it's worth being vulnerable. And that is how I got sober, was seeing people sharing their story. So it's like, why wouldn't I?
I think now we're fortunate because we live in a time where people are more open to having those conversations. Even our parents' generation, to be an alcoholic was, you don't get a chance. No. Yeah.
And you don't admit it, I suppose.
No, you don't admit it. That's why you go into the basement of a church and you try to park in the far back or wherever.
No one can see you.
But I think I appreciate you posting that. Even though I don't know why at the time, I think obviously I was insecure and struggling with my identity and being like, oh, you don't need to tell everybody. But really, and it's really hard though to do that. It's like,
I had gut rot. Yeah. I remember, I can tell you exactly where I was when I hit the post button, and I'm in the car with my husband and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like you're telling the world you had a problem, I mean, it's like you spend all these years having a problem, but never telling anyone. And then all of a sudden you're putting it out there it is like, I felt like I was in a puke and I think I did cry.
I get it. Yeah. I didn't appreciate how hard it was because I don't think I posted anything at my 1 year. But when I think you did. Did I?
Yes, because I didn't see it, but someone asked me, hey, did you see, well, it was Renee. Said, hey, did you see Seth's sobriety? And I'm like, no. So of course I went to look and I loved it.
I appreciate that.
Because it's awesome. I just think, I think it's something that should be insanely celebrated. And I think, when you get so far into it and you're like, man, I feel so freaking good. And I'm so happy to not have an internal battle with myself every day. And you want everyone to feel that way. Not that it always feels that way. I was just talking to a friend who's newly sober and I'm like, you're going to have some times where you're like, you're feeling a little left out or you're feeling tired or you're feeling like, a little blah, but guess what? That goes away. You felt that way when you were drinking too, but compounded by everything else you felt, Yeah, it's like a big, big ball of emotions. That's all I know. Lots of crying because I'm a woman. That's what I do.
No, crying is okay. Yes, I'm sure I did a lot of crying in the beginning. It's tough. Yeah, the beginning phase, it takes forever. Just drags. I remember my first 30 days. It's like, gosh, can it not? It's only been a week.
Yeah.
Just watching the calendar. And now it goes quickly. Seems like it goes faster.
And do you use an app?
Yeah. A counter, a sobriety counter. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Or an app? Yeah. What was the Facebook page you mentioned?
Oh, yeah. It's called The Sober Mom Life, an alternative to AA.
The Sober Mom Life?
The Sober Mom Life. And
Is it
yeah,
an open? I would assume it's not an open group. It's you got to request to join.
request to join, answer a few questions, and you can do. I mean, you can be a part of the group and be totally silent and stalk. I have posted on it a few times, but I would say I'm mostly a stalker.
The Facebook group is awesome. Like you said, now you go back and you read some of their comments about being hungover, and you're like, oh,
it's a constant reminder.
It's a great reminder.
Yeah. Because you forget. Eventually, it's like, hey, I forget how I felt, you know?
Oh, yeah. We have short-term memory.
Yeah.
When I do this podcast and every week I'm like, I'm Seth, I'm an alcoholic. Otherwise, I'll forget. I'll get to a point where I'm like, maybe I can drink like a gentleman.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not even going to risk it. It's
kudos to those that can.
I think everybody could benefit from evaluating their relationship with alcohol. And really, it's poison. It's any mind-altering substance. When you get to a point where you can just feel life and deal with life on life's terms, you just get this sense of pride. Also now, when I go to a concert or if I go downtown, I see people drinking. It just looks like work.
Yeah.
I get exhausted watching
money.
people do shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and money. Now, yeah, just I get free refills with my Cokes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was recently, I can't remember what I was trying to convince Nick of buying or something. And I'm like, hey, according to my app, because, you can put in the app, like, how much do you think you spend on alcohol per week when you first join the app? And so I pull it up and I'm like, according to the app, we've saved thousands. I can't remember what it was, thousands of dollars. And he's like, yeah, but have you put in there how much you've spent on ice cream in the last 2 years? I'm like, why are you going to focus on the negative?
Blizzards are ridiculously expensive. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's fair. But still, I'm super impressed with you. I'm proud of you. I appreciate you jumping on here, even though you wanted to bail on me.
Yeah.
But you did awesome. And the thing I like about you is that you don't have to get a DUI. You don't have to have a diagnosis. You just put it up and it gets hard. It's hard initially, but gosh, over time, it gets easier.
Yes, it does.
Have you thought about drinking in a while? Can you think of the last time you thought, I could use a glass of wine?
No, I'll be honest. I have not. I don't even know how long it's been. The only thing I've ever thought is like the romanticized version of wine. Like you watch a movie and they're out for this fancy dinner and they have this glass of wine. And I'm like, I can do the same thing with a mocktail or whatever. That fancy glass of wine is never what mine looked like.
No, it's not the reality for us. And those guys don't drink like I do. Like their 2-bottle wine night is once every 3 months or something. But yeah,
they're sharing those 2 bottles.
Yeah, they're sharing it. Yeah, it's not just one of them drinking 2 or one apiece.
Yep.
So there's that. So it's not so much the drinking, it's just the camaraderie.
It's nice to not have to plan anything around drinking. Like my weekends, I know I can get up and do whatever on a Saturday or Sunday because my day isn't going to be wasted. Or not that I only drank on weekends, but I just like really tore it up on the weekends. Like little stuff that you used to plan. I always loved to stay at the Embassy Suites because they had the 2-hour manager's reception and we could get a lot of free booze in that 2 hours. Or you'd plan where you're going to stay on vacation based on the distance to where you're going because you're not going to be able to drive. Like knowing I don't ever have to do any of that anymore. Oh, and also, so 2023 was a really crap year in general. Like we had some health problems in the family and it was just like one thing after another. It was just one hard thing after another. And I remember constantly being grateful that I was present. I was able to deal with the situation head on and clear-minded.
And realizing that drinking would not make this situation any better.
Yeah.
If anything, it's going to make it worse.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't need that. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm with you 100%. I think you hit a lot of great points and I think you're very relatable.
Your fam is beautiful and I'm proud of you for getting sober while they're young.
No, I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. And that was the thing. Somebody said to me once, figure this out now because they're probably young enough where
they might not remember.
Yeah, there's still certain vacations that were blackened because mom and dad were arguing.
Right.
Now, I'm really intentional. I'm far more intentional. When I start feeling sorry for myself, I think, okay, what can I do today? How can I make today better for them?
Yeah.
And that helps, because otherwise, if I'm like, poor me, I don't do anything and I just get mopey.
Yeah.
And my wife is tired of the mopiness. I'm exhausted.
No more self-loathing.
Yeah, no more sympathy from her.
I like it. And kudos to amazing spouses who stick it out with us.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There were times I thought, if I were my husband, I would have left me a long time ago.
Oh, no
and that was
question.
another like, hello, wake up. I mean, thinking your husband should leave you and that you should get diagnosed with some terrible disease. There's your sign.
I don't think my wife has ever lied to me. And I can't imagine being lied to by her. That's got to be pretty hurtful.
Yeah. I mean,
be really hard.
Yeah.
One lie. That's all you get, you know?
Yeah.
But gosh, she just, kept plugging away. So yeah, amen to that. Thank God for supportive spouses. No matter where anyone's at, as long as you're sober, life gets better. If you're drinking, it can only get worse. So even if you're not still married or wherever you're at, man, it just gets better. Just stick it out in the beginning. Do whatever you got to do, and then just get through that year of first Super Bowl, first St. Patty's Day, all those little triggers. And then it gets easier because you realize, I don't need alcohol for this stuff. Go to your first trip, go to an all-inclusive and not drink. I think I went to one all-inclusive and didn't drink, and I left there being like, what a waste of a vacation. That's what my conclusion was. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's
my
funny.
Wife. I hope you're happy I didn't drink.
This was the worst.
Yeah. What a terrible way to live. Couldn't enjoy being in a tropical place where just on a beach all week if you're not drinking. It's pathetic. But no, I get it. Just find your community, like you said. I'll share those links, any podcasts or Facebook groups, whatever. I think that's important. Relatability. And if you see somebody that shares something that you connect with, message them, because honestly, it helps us to talk about it and feel like we're helping others with our story, because otherwise it's all in vain.
Yep.
If you don't post it or share it, it's like, what was the point of all that?
Why not?
Yeah, I think that's way better. Like you said too, when you heard about people going to treatment or getting sober, and you're like, good for them.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like you see people are posting all the time like, woo, had a great night. And it's, them and all their drinks. Like, why can't we post about being sober too? It's something to celebrate. I'd
see people make changes and I'm like, that's good for them. But because deep down, I couldn't do it. I didn't think it was possible, but it's possible.
It is.
Just do it sooner than later. Life moves pretty quick and this thing's a thief.
And don't give up. Like the amount of time, I was talking to a gal not too long ago, and I got the vibe that she thinks I just decided one day to quit drinking, and I quit drinking. And that is not the case. It's a year-long battle and multiple day ones. Like, I don't even know how many day ones. Too many to count.
Yeah. It's got to be when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And even your family was like, okay, Mom.
Okay, have fun.
Yeah, right.
Let us know when you're back to drinking.
Yeah. It's true though. It's like after a period of time, people just become accustomed to the fact that this is just our reality.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you without a glass of wine.
Right.
My wife, when I got sober, she wasn't optimistic because she was like, I just feel like you'd be miserable the whole time. You'll just always be wanting to drink.
Like you'll never just be happy.
Yeah. I'll always be a little bitter and
crabby,
curmudgeon-y, because I wasn't able to drink, and I get that. That's fair. For her, a drunk husband or a cranky husband, that's tough. But no, I appreciate you. You're awesome.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for showing up and doing this, and keep being vocal. Don't listen to people like me that are like, "Oh, you don't have to."
The haters.
Yeah.
Now sober haters.
Still insecure. I was still prejudicial and critical and cynical and. What's your agenda, Alice? You're just trying to pick up clients,
I probably have lost some, and it's okay.
Right. I know. Live your life. People can have opinions. It's just nice, and we're more confident now without the help of alcohol, and it feels good. So
yep.
I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you, and I'm grateful that you are here today to share your story.
Thanks, Seth.